Welcome everybody to today's webinar. And the topic is all about picking the right business for yourself for shopping. I came up with this title because we spend a great deal of time shopping for a pair of shoes or shopping for a car or shopping for a home. But it seems like a lot of times people trip into business. They don't really take the time to actually literally shop for a business. They suddenly get an epiphany that they want to do more and be more, but they don't take the time to shop. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of cover just a basic beginner's thing on how to shop for the business for you, one that's just right for you, one that you'll want to keep forever. So we're going to look at how to pick the best one for you so that you're not wasting your time and a lot of money, because it can get quite costly. You want one that's going to work for you and one you can do for a really long time to come. Some people actually want to build a business that's a legacy that they can hand down to generations, or they want to build a nonprofit that's going to touch the world, right? So they want something that's going to extend way beyond their immediate scope in length and breadth. So either way you do it, either it's for this lifetime or for the next lifetime or for future generations, you're going to invest a great deal of time in building your business. There's a lot of effort in it. So, it only makes sense that you want a business that can grow and move with you, right? You want one that's going to be able, that you're going to be able to wear well over time. So there's no doubt about it. There's tons of choices out there, tons, and lots of people telling you which one's the best one. It can get so confusing. I get overwhelmed, and I've already got a couple of businesses. I have a couple of product businesses and a service business. So you have those people that are flashing the big old wads of cash, trying to convince you that their scheme will make you instant money and it's easy. You've got the other ones telling you how they made millions doing X, Y, or Z, or not even telling you that they made millions doing X, Y, or Z. They just said that they made millions, and they're more than happy to show you how you can do the same thing. Just, kind of hop into their scheme. So and there's other ones that tell you to use a simple formula. They have this magic formula, and you can have the Maserati private jet lifestyle. So to me, this gets confusing, and I don't know about you, but it's got to feel a little overwhelming. And which way do you go? With all that push and pull, you begin to wonder, do I go right? Do I go left? Is it straight ahead? You started out just wanting more for your life. What's wrong with that? I mean, maybe you didn't want fame and glory. Fame and glory, there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you just wanted to have more than what you have now, have a little bit more control. You know that there's a way to make money online. Plenty of people do it. Plenty of people continue to do it, and plenty of people will continue to do it into the future. But you're still wondering how you're going to do it. And with all the noise out there, it's hard to know which way is the best way for you. Who's the scammers and who's legit? Those are some of the biggest questions you're going to be asking yourself. So today, we're going to take a quick look at the various business models from a very high level. And it's important that you see things from a high level, from a strategy perspective, so that you understand the different schemes out there. So you can pick what one works best for you, or which hybridized version you want to use, because you can combine models and schemes. So we'll look at some of the pros and cons as well of each one. And we'll also take a look at how to determine which one's going to be the best one for you. One that you can build and one that you'll want to keep forever. By the time we're done today, you're going to have the information you need to make a decision for yourself, rather than just tripping into a business or taking someone's word for it. It's better to go into something consciously and by choice. So my name is Janice Summers, and I am going to be your guide today. And if you've ever wanted more for your life and you felt like venturing into your own business is the only way to make your future your own, you're right. At least I think you are. And so would my fellow successful entrepreneurs. Now, jobs are great. Don't get me wrong. They're wonderful things, and they can offer you things that you won't have as an entrepreneur. But the companies you work for are not yours, and they act in their own interest. Now, that's what companies do. There's no need to fault them or to cast blame. They serve the shareholders. That's what they exist for. They purchase your time, they give you a salary, they give you benefits. They've purchased your time in exchange for the services that you provide for them. And they do the same thing with your coworkers. Fair trade. But is it really? That's the question. They determine the value of those services, and they compensate you based on a predetermined scale that they have set up. So they have their own pay scheme and their own promotion scheme. So you're kind of locked in once you get hired. And unless you're in sales, there's definitely a limit on how much you can make. Your salary is a fairly fixed thing, and you're on an adjustment schedule. There's no guarantee of an adjustment, but you're on that kind of schedule. And if you want to move up, so say you want to expand your career and take on more responsibility, that choice is not yours. That choice is other people's. That choice is up to the company. And you can't just promote yourself up when you're ready or when you feel like you're ready. There has to be an opportunity for you, and you have to apply for it. The other thing is you're hired for a limited role. You're hired for a specific set of tasks. You have a scope of responsibility, and you kind of got to stick to your lane. Your scope is your scope. You can't learn other roles and responsibilities or take on the mantle of other roles and responsibilities because you're hired for a very specific scope. Again, that's the exchange. So if you're starting to get yourself to thinking that there's a finite amount of potential at your job or the company you work for, you are right. That's how companies are. That's how they exist. But again, in exchange, they're giving you a salary. So you can't fault them for that. It's just how the model works. So what do you do? I mean, if you want more for yourself, what do you do? If complacency and just sticking with the status quo is no longer good enough for you, what are your choices? Well, obviously, your choice is you can start your own business. And it's not a bad choice. You can start your own business on the side. You don't even need to commit to it full time from the get-go. You can do, and some models you would want to. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But the nice thing is you can start a business for yourself on the side on a part-time basis that doesn't interfere with your job. So you can keep your job and treat it as an angel funder for your business. It'll help keep the lights on and keep your bills paid while you build your business. Now, as a business owner, there's virtually no limit to the potential. There's no limit to the potential in job or scope and responsibilities that you can take on, because quite frankly, oftentimes, depending on the model that you're in, you have to take on all the responsibilities. The buck really does stop with you. And the potential income that you can make is also limited or unlimited, sorry. It's only limited by the results of your efforts. So really, your efforts have a direct correlation to what your income is going to be from that business. And it's true for any of the models out there. So any of the models we're going to be talking about, the same rule applies to all of them. And it's that difference in ownership versus working for somebody. And all businesses out there boil down to two types. There's really only two types. One is product, the other is services. That's it. All the money made out there is made by providing one or the other or both of these things, products and services. They all fall into these two categories, legal or illicit. They all provide a product or a service or both in exchange for money. It's pretty simple. Now, all of the businesses out there follow model of sales and distribution. And it can safely be argued that there's really only 4 basic categories. Now, these categories all have subsets, but there's 2 types of business and four basic business model categories. Now, the lines can be crossed and you can combine them. You know, for some companies, that's what they do. One of my companies, I'm waiting to combine a couple of models under one business. But those are strategic things that you're going to decide. Yeah, and a lot of companies actually, especially with the independents, but a lot of companies out there have more than one model that they operate because they want to leverage their revenue, right? They don't want to rely on just one revenue stream. They want to diversify it in a safe way without diluting their resources. And it can be done. Even as an individual, you can do this. You can have multiple revenue streams so that you're leveraging against a couple of different channels. And this helps create stability for your little business as it grows. And we're going to talk about that, because adding stability to the bottom line is pretty critical for any business, no matter how small or how large. Stability is pretty key. So let's jump into the models, the 4 models, and we're going to talk about the first one. And the first model is called owner. We'll just call it owner. And owner means I own something. If you own something of inherent value that you can lease or lend for a period of time in exchange for money, then this would be an owner, right? This is an example of an owner. Usually that lease agreement is exclusive, right? It's an exclusive agreement for a limited period of time. It's not indefinite. In the physical world, let's think about it in terms of real estate, literally real estate. We've all rented hotel rooms. Well, most of us have, or you've rented an apartment. You've rented a home of some sort. Those are all examples of owner models, right? Somebody owns the property and they're going to lease it to you for a period of time. They have rules and regulations about, you know, there's terms and conditions with it. They still control it, but they're leasing it to you. They're lending it to you. So car leases, same thing, right? You rent a car, you lease a car, same thing. Now, what about digital real estate? I always like to talk about digital real estate. And if you've been in my branding sessions or private sessions about branding, no doubt you've heard me refer to it as digital real estate. So what about that? What are some examples of owner real estate for rent? Well, Google. You ever heard of Google? And ads, running ads in Google. What about Facebook and Facebook sponsor ads? Those are great examples of owner lease. They've got the digital real estate. They've got a huge audience that they're going to allow you exposure to. You pay them so that you can run an ad on their channel and expose yourself to their audience. That's a great example of owner lease. Now, what about the individual? What about just the little guy like you or I? You know, we're going out there and we're starting our own business. We're not Facebook, we're not Google, not yet. You know, you could be. The sky's the limit. There's, you know, I'm not going to set a boundary on what you can create or do, nor should you. Let go of that. So let's talk about you. Now, what if you became that famous blogger or that YouTuber and you had your channel, or your Spotify for musicians, and you had a channel that had a subscriber podcaster like this, right? So if you have a high amount of traffic, like a popular blogger, you could actually rent some space to advertisers on your blog spot. They would pay you to be able to be advertised on your highly trafficked blog. And your audience is particular to them, to what their product or service is, and they want to cater to your audience. But you've built up such a reputation that you own some digital real estate that has a high value. Okay? Celebrity websites and celebrity endorsements, same thing. And it could be a brand that's going to borrow, or an IP lease. So think in terms of like Air Jordan, you know, Michael Jordan and Nike. Nike is a brand on its own, but so is Michael Jordan. So that was a combination of co-branding, where Michael Jordan lent his name to a famous shoe. In exchange, he got celebrity endorsement. So he got paid dearly for it. That's a good example of brand leasing with a celebrity name. Music reuse rights. That's another one for music, where you have reuse. Like in movies, and they're going to play some commercially famous song, they pay for usage rights. Or images, unless you've got free reuse or stock images that are allowed to be reused, you pay for the right to use them. Those all fall under IP, intellectual property. The owner category is pretty much an example of service, and the service exposure to a unique crowd, right? That's the whole thing that you're pitching, or that you have the advantage on, is you have a unique niched crowd that is high value to the renter. So the pro in this, if you've managed to create that celebrity status, then you really can capitalize on it. If you're the YouTuber who's got, you know, a lot of followers, a lot of subscribers, you can capitalize on that. If you own something, say you've got the most beautiful little cabin house by the river, you can rent that. You own it and you can rent it out for a period of time, and it's valued by other people. So you can capitalize on it. So gives you the opportunity to turn a profit, right? Making money from what you already have. A con to this is when we talk about co-branding and lending your name, you know, you have to be careful about protecting your brand, because you don't want to dilute your brand. You don't want to co-brand with the wrong thing, because that will reflect on your brand. You also want to protect your usage rights. If you're a musician, this is one of the challenges for musicians and photographers, is protecting their usage rights. So there's some challenges with that one. And if you lend or rent, then you're at the mercy of those that you lend to. And there are times where people who borrow things don't return them in the same shape that they had when they checked them out. Scratches on cars, damages to furniture, you name it. So the other thing too is it's really hard to get a celebrity status. So that's kind of a con in this one. Celebrity status doesn't come easy. Nothing in life really does come easy, and you're going to have to work at any business. But this, we're talking a really long-term play to get, you know, millions of subscribers to your YouTube channel, to where you can really turn revenue from running an ad on your real estate. Chances are you'll find other models that you're going to use to generate revenue, rather than just trading on your celebrity, because you don't have it then. So now let's look at the next model. And this one is from intention to invention. This is where your creator. This is the creator model. So you're going to build a better solution. You're going to create the next amazing work of art. This is a huge category. You know, you're going to write the next epic series of books that's turned into a movie, like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, right? So you think of in terms of creator when you're creating original works. It's kind of self-explanatory, but it's a really inclusive. It's got a lot of things in here. So you think in terms of from Edison's bright idea for a light bulb to Steve Jobs' many Apple products. Those are all creator, from intention to invention. These are things that consumers find highly valuable. So the pro to this is you can offer something that no one else can. And there's only one, and will only ever be one, Leonardo da Vinci. So you have that unique thing. And if you've got that burning desire to bring something forward, this is where you're going to fall into the invention, the intention to invention category of a creator. You can corner the market if you have something that's so unique and so different. There is a high risk in this category because it is, I believe, in my opinion, it is the true entrepreneur role, because you are all in. Everything you put on the line for this, and you give everything to this creation. But the nice part about it is you get a high reward. You know, if you're going all in and you're creating something unique and different, if it hits, then all the reward is yours, right? But there's no guarantee. There are no guarantees in any business model. You will never have one that's guaranteed. I don't care what anybody says. So the nice part on this is the high risk, is the high reward. The con on this one is the high risk, high investment. And again, no guarantee. So if you've got an invention or a creator streak in you, then doing this on the side part-time while you work your job is probably a pretty wise choice, unless it's something that's revolutionary and you can get angel funding. That's a whole nother thing. But oftentimes that's what happens with technology. Is somebody has an idea, they're able to pitch it to people, and people are willing to give you money or lend you money in exchange for part ownership in your company while you build it and make it happen. A lot of technology has come out that way. So again, the con on this one is going to be the high risk, high investment, and it's not something a lot of people can afford. So for the individual, you're probably going to want to do something like this on a part-time basis while you're working a job to give yourself a little extra security. So the next category is, you know, makers make and builders build. So the builder category. And this is an interesting one. This one is where pretty much what they do is they make stuff for other people. They don't invent it. They just take your schematic and they'll build it for you. They're experts at building. They can make things, they can turn them out. They have the assembly process down. They've got processes in place where they have a formula. They can churn out whatever it is that you need. Think in terms of like private labels, right? Private label products. And that's where a brand can say, I want you to build this for me, but I want my label on it. I want to claim it as my own, even though you're going to make it for me. That happens quite commonly in a lot of industries. A lot of industries. Store brands. Think in terms of like the Kirkland brand. I mean, Kirkland doesn't have all those manufacturing and food facilities, but they have somebody else who's willing to put the Kirkland name on things, even though they're the ones making it, because makers make and builders build. So they need to provide that service to people. So it's an excellent service. Think also in terms of On an individual scale, think of if you're really good at writing and you can write content for other people, well, that's a maker make or a builder building, right? Ghost writers for TV shows or writers for TV shows or for comedy writers, they're writing on demand. So that's another example. The pro in this one is, in assembly is a repetition. You can do it in bulk. You don't have to think about it. You just need to churn out what they need, and you need to maintain quality, right? But you can churn through the quantity, and this is how you're going to make your money. Another pro to this is you don't need to worry about the link between the product or the service and the consumer or user. You're separated from that. You don't have to worry about, how is it going to get sold? Who's going to buy it? You don't need to worry about that. You're just going to make something to spec. A con in this one is the volume, narrow margins. And also, depending on what it is you're doing, what service you're providing, what you're making or what you're building, you could be limited. Like, it's not likely you're going to do private labeled stewed tomatoes and aircraft. I mean, that's just not heard of. You're going to be in a specific lane, an niche lane. So your choices are kind of limited on who you're going to serve. So they kind of have you at mercy. So now that takes us up to, if you've been keeping count, our last category. There's one more category in business models, and this is the last thing. Everything else is sales. Everything. And this is a massive, massive category. Unless you are creating and inventing, you're going to fall into this category. And almost all business schemes that are out there on the internet fall into this category. Wholesaler to retailer falls into this category. As a wholesaler, I'm going to buy in bulk from somebody who's creating product or service, and I'm going to resell it with a margin. I'm going to buy it in bulk at a discount, a deep discount that the consumer can't get because I'm buying in volume. And then I'm going to resell it. Retailers, stores, this is a good example of a seller model. Brokers, traders, stock traders, and brokers, same thing. They're selling. Subscription's the same thing. You're selling a lease, but you're just selling it. You didn't create what they're leasing. So the model is sales. Manufacturer to direct. This is where those manufacturers might sell directly to the consumer and bypass the distribution channel, bypass that distributor and go right out to the market. And then also the infamous affiliate marketing and the MLM business, the home-based business. It all falls under sales. Somebody else is making the product. Somebody else is providing the service. You are selling that. So it's a great, very flexible model. This model is very flexible and very accommodating. But it's all about sales. When someone else makes it, somebody else creates it, somebody else owns it, you're selling it. You're getting a margin or a percentage on the sales. Pretty simple. I know a lot of people shy away from this word and they get a little nervous. But, it's kind of, what's that phrase? Don't hate the player, hate the game. I don't know. Anyway, sales takes on a lot of personas. It really does. And it can be done very poorly, or it can be done very well. It can be subtle and not over the top, or it can be in your face and flashy. I think earlier we talked about those people flashing the wads of cash. That's flashy. Versus someone who's saying, hey, I have a solution that might help you. That's subtle. So really it becomes learning the art And there is an art in sales. And I think that if you're going to go into any of these businesses that fall under this model, investing in learning that art is key. It's critical. That's your job, basically. Your job is to differentiate yourself, because think in terms of, if you're an affiliate marketer, if you're in an MLM, there are tens of thousands of people that might be in that same multi-level marketing or that network marketing or that home-based business as you. How many people sell Amway? But you're going to want to differentiate yourself. As a business owner, you can still have your own business that's not a part of that company's brand. And this is really one of those key critical differentiators. You can do a business where you have multiple revenue streams. Remember, we talked about that earlier. So you need to think in terms of not an all or nothing situation. The nice part about sales is you can have different lines that you represent, but it all becomes your relationships, and your ability to build relationships are critical. So how you build those relationships. Sales is a relationship business. Now, the pro to this category is pretty significant because it can be very low risk, and it could be low to no money in virtually. So the barrier to entrance into this field is quite conducive to make it achievable for anybody. I mean, there's a level playing field if you're going into this. So it's not a model to shy away from. I think my favorite one that falls in here is affiliate marketing, which is amazing and growing in popularity. Now, in affiliate marketing and sales, it just means that, hey, I've used this product or service and I like it. I think you might like it too. And if you decide you do like it and you do want it, I get compensated. It's not a bad little market. So that falls in here too. And you can see where it's low risk. I've just signed on, agreed to be an affiliate, and I'll say nice things about your service or your product so that other people can be introduced to it. There's no risk in there. And there's no money that you have to invest in that. The other nice thing in this category is it's business in a box. If you're a wholesaler and you're selling somebody's products, the product originator, the creator, is the one who's going to worry about all the marketing and the imaging and getting the message out about the product. As a wholesaler, you just need to have the distribution channel to feed and funnel the product through. So there's not as much of a risk. In a creator role, you have all risk. You have all of those risks. You have to build the reputation. You have to build the name. Here, you don't have to. The name is being built by somebody else. You're just representing that name. You're representing it and displaying it as an opportunity to other people, introducing them to it. It also has replicatable patterns. A lot of times there's going to be training. I know in my product-based business, I provided product collateral. I provided actual shelf talkers for people, for their stores. So all of that is provided by somebody else. You don't have to create all that. It's done for you. The con in this field is competition. There's a lot of it. Now, in everything, in every business model, you're going to have competition. But in this one, you're going to have a lot of competition. And the challenge with that, remember earlier I said, if you're entering into this business model, then you have a responsibility to learn the art of sales and how to do things in an ethical, upfront kind of way. Unfortunately, not everybody takes that responsibility serious. So they may be doing things that are questionable, that damage the brand that you're also trying to represent. See what I'm saying? This is where if you're in an MLM, you get a lot of people say, oh, so-and-so, talk to me about that. And maybe they did it all wrong. So you kind of got to fight against that. There's also a saturation factor. I mean, only, you know, if you're like saturated in an area, how are you going to tap into it? So there's some challenges there. Standing out in a crowd. This is one of those things that you don't really think about, but if you're repping somebody else's product, it's not as much about that product. Remember, sales is relationship building. And I go into more about how to really do sales in an artful way in other trainings, but it's that relationship that you're building. So you want to differentiate yourself from others. That's one of the cons that a lot of people don't realize that they want to really work on. The other challenge here is you don't own it. You don't own those products or services. Somebody else does. So you're still kind of at the mercy if they decide to change things. Like say you're wholesaling product for a company and they decide to discontinue that line. The product creator discontinues the line and you've got no revenue that you can generate from it. Or they decide that they're going to change the compensation model. So you're kind of stuck there if you've invested so much in just one product line. So that's the con in this business model. But it's a pretty vast and pretty diverse place to go. But we're talking about how you're going to shop now that you have an understanding that there's really only products and services. And there's really 4 basic business models. How are you going to find the right one that's just for you? The best one. I don't know if there is a worse one. They all have pros. They all have cons. Which one has the biggest payout? Well, you know, again, being in business for yourself, you're limited only by your efforts. Guaranteed, there is nothing that's guaranteed, but you might be thinking, well, what has a guaranteed shot? There are no guarantees, but we're going to go into looking at ones that you may feel more comfortable with. So a lot of people also want to know, well, what are the ones that have, you know, no risk and all reward? We want that, right? We don't want to have to risk anything and we want the maximum payout. There's always going to be risk. There's always going to be at least a little risk. So you can say low risk, but nothing is all reward and no risk. That's just not a reality. So how can you know? Let me just take a quick look over and see if we've got any questions going on. Okay, so we're all right. Okay, we're going to keep going forward. So how can you know what's right for you? The best thing I can tell you is know who you are as a person. I mean, I have a course and I'll make it available for you later, but knowing who you are, what motivates you, what you find of value is really critical, because in knowing these answers, you're going to be able to align with, I mean, say you go into the sales category, which is the biggest, lowest barrier to entrance and the biggest category, and say that's the one you're going to go into. Well, knowing who you are and what you have a natural affinity for is going to help you in selecting what brand or what company you want to align yourself with to sell their products or their services. You know, are you a technical writer and there's a particular tool that you like that you can resell, right? That's an example. Or maybe you're really into fitness, and you love shakes. So there's, you know, a shaky shake company that, hey, you feel like I can really speak to this one. I can sell this, right? So knowing who you are and what your interests are very important, because you're going to spend a lot of time. No matter which model you adopt, you're going to spend a lot of time in the business, focusing your efforts and energy. You know, in business, different business models and different sales take on different activities. You know, some things are more passive than others. And some things are more approachable. Maybe you find that with your personality, you like being able to introduce people to things, to opportunities, or to things, right? And if introductions are what you feel the most comfortable with, then affiliate marketing is probably a really good bet for you. And then it just becomes, what do you have a natural interest in? I'm not saying you can't sell things that you're not interested in. You absolutely can. It's just easier if you're starting out, if you're working on things that you can believe in, that you have a natural interest in. The other thing is, what is your vision for yourself? I mean, if you have a vision, which everybody should have a vision for themselves, especially in their business, what is that vision for your business? That vision needs to line up with that model. If they don't line up, then you're going to have a lot of friction. The next thing you need to ask yourself is, what are you willing to do? Because each model and each opportunity requires effort on your part. And you need to decide, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to invest the time and effort and energy to create original, rich content for an audience so that you build a reputation through a blog or through video? It takes time to do this. This is not fast. It's not done overnight. And you have to fine tune. But if you're willing to do that, then the model should become clear to you. The other question is, what are you willing to risk? If you have an aversion to risk, then sales, the seller model, is probably the easiest for you. If you're not adverse to risk, then looking at creator, innovator might be a good model for you to follow, especially if you have a burning desire to create something, right? I've been in several different business models. I've been in network marketing. I've got a couple product companies. I've got a service company. So for me, I was low risk adverse. So I went all in on product because I wanted a higher level of control. That was a business decision that I made. But I also do affiliate because there are things that I use as a business owner that I really believe in, that I know can help other people like me. So I also have affiliate. I provide services. So you see how things you have a diverse revenue stream, and that actually creates a nice leveraged revenue for your business. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can actually meld and put things together. For example, one of my product companies is on a path to eventually offer affiliate sales. So once it establishes a reputation and a threshold, I will offer that to other people because it's got the brand recognition. I'll offer it to other people for affiliate commissions so that they can then sell that product and earn money selling it. So that's combining a couple of different models together. So I hope you're getting an understanding of how you can know which model is going to work best for you based on your personality and who you are and what your interests are, what you're willing to do and what you're willing to risk. Now, I'm going to tell you, until you drive it, you don't know how that car is going to handle. You can kick the tires. You can look at the shoes in the window. Until you try them on, you don't know how those shoes are going to feel. Until you drive that car, you don't know how it's going to handle. You just never know. So the nice thing in the category of sales is you can try on different businesses. And if they don't work, it's no risk. But the thing is you have to give it a go. You have to give it a legitimate go in order to know for certain, right? So why doesn't everybody do it? Well, it takes work. It really does take work. And anyone who's telling you that it doesn't take work to build a business is kind of pulling your chain. There are risks associated with it, and people are risk adverse. It will require that you take action, a lot of action, without immediate reward. We're so accustomed to having immediate gratification or immediate reward. We go to work, we get a paycheck, every week, every 2 weeks, once a month, but we get paid, right? In the role of an entrepreneur, owning your own business, you're going to take a lot of action that you're not going to see that reward for. You might not see it for a long time. Hopefully you'll see it in within 6 months to a year, but you never know. I mean, based on some actions take longer, right? You can think in terms of that blogger could have been working on that blog spot for years. And then suddenly it starts to take, they built up their following. And it requires a level of tenacity. It requires you to not give up. That's not always easy, the not giving up part. And that's why it becomes really important to associate with a group. I network with some really world-class marketers. I also belong to a mastermind, because there's times where when things get tough, when you're on your own, and you want to have that support. These things help carry you through. So why do people do it? Well, because they feel the future should be self-determined. It shouldn't be dictated by somebody else, and it shouldn't be capped and limited. And really the only way to have a self-determined, unlimited future is to take control of your life and to take control of where you receive your revenue from. Jobs may feel comfortable, but they may disappear. I mean, who do you know who's been hit by a layoff? Maybe you've been hit by a layoff. Maybe the company that you've worked for has closed. You don't control that. And for others, it's just being complacent. It's no longer good enough. They don't want to be told no. They don't want to be told that they can only earn so much money. They don't want to be told that they can only have a limited sphere of influence or a limited scope of responsibility. They want to take on more. So they don't want to be complacent. And the other one is because people want to live to their fullest potential. They don't want to be limited by somebody else. An artist must create their art in order to express their full potential. So those are reasons why a lot of people do it. I mean, if you're in it, you might have your own reasons. Maybe I didn't hit on them, but these are most of the reasons why people do it, because you will go through a lot of work. It's not always easy, but the rewards are great. I really do honestly believe that with the right kind of support, there really is no limit to what you can achieve. And I want to thank you for taking the time to tune in. And I hope you got some value. If you found this valuable, feel free to share it with others. Now, earlier I told you that I have some resources, so I'm going to go ahead and share those with you right now. So I have that self-paced workshop on how you can create your vision. And if you've never taken the time to really build a foundation for yourself, I'm big on foundations. So I have a 2-part workshop, self-paced workshop, on how you can create that rock solid foundation. And that's going to answer those questions about who are you and what are you about? What do you want to create? So it's a really good deep dive into those questions, and it's a guided tour, so you cover all the bases to create that really good solid foundation for you to build your business on. And then there's the digital sprinters. I told you about the mastermind that I belong to, and there's your invitation to join that mastermind if you want. And go ahead and write down that link. And then lastly, everyone gets 15 minutes free. If you've never had a coaching session with me and you want to have a little mini coaching session with me, then feel free to take advantage of booking some time with me directly to help you get going and transforming your business dreams into a reality. Until the next time, take care.